The Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes are over. Why Ohtani's new contract could pay off even bigger for his new ball club, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and new reports just coming down before we came on the air that Shohei Ohtani will defer all but roughly $20 million of his contract towards the future. Bob Nightingale calls Major League Baseball writers a embarrassment to journalism community in wake of Shohei Ohtani's free agency playing out. Is it athletics versus academics as Nebraska's football program looks to renovate their stadium for $350 million? And NBA Commissioner Adam Silver hints at potential tweaks to the recently concluded NBA in-season tournament. A new episode of Press Row goes live right now.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hello, everybody, and happy Monday, and welcome into the first of a three-show week for Press Row, covering all the angles of the biggest sports news, all courtesy of the sports media and sports broadcasting and sports business side of every angle here on this Monday afternoon, early evening here in San Diego, California, here live on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. Yours truly, Callan McClurg, joining you here today from the home studios in San Diego. Folks, we are going to quickly get to a quick breaking news story covering our first topic here this afternoon involving, of course, the very monumental, earth-shattering announcement of Shohei Ohtani signing that 10-year, $700 million contract over the course of Saturday with the Los Angeles Dodgers, but just coming down roughly 5 minutes, and I kid you not, 5 minutes before we came on the air here on this Monday edition of Press Row. But ESPN's Jeff Passan has just confirmed to his sources and to ESPN.com that Shohei Ohtani's new $700 million contract will now call for him to be paid only $2 million for a year for the next 10 seasons, with all but $680 million of that $700 million contract being deferred until the end of his contract. Sources have confirmed to ESPN the CBT hit on the contract is going to be around roughly $46 million, a major discount for the Los Angeles Dodgers, who, again, were able to reel in the biggest fish in the pond on Saturday with that earth-shattering, record-breaking 10-year, $700 million deal. And also today here on this Monday, Eric Fisher of FOS also wrote today why Shohei Ohtani's new historic contract could pay off even bigger for the Los Angeles Dodgers rather than just what has taken place within the last roughly 5 to 10 minutes here, with, again, the reports of now that Ohtani is going to defer all but roughly $20 million is going to be deferred. So in other words, he has basically become Bobby Bonilla, it seems like, 2.0 here at this stage of the contract being signed just a mere, roughly as mentioned, 2 days ago. But in the end, though, all initial monetary estimates surrounding Shohei Ohtani and his free agent contract at this rate, surrounding the Shohei Ohtani free agency sweepstakes, and his contract can prove to be almost embarrassingly small. But such is the unique stature of the two-way phenom, the resources of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the hunger for victory in Chavez Ravine. On Saturday, Shohei Ohtani firmly announced his signing with the Dodgers on Saturday for a 10-year, $700 million contract that now shatters all prior records, not only in MLB, but also among all U.S. professional team sports. The superstar had been pegged previously since the past summer for a contract worth nearly $600 million, but that bullishness then ebbed away and somewhat toward projections of maybe $500 to $550 million after a season-ending UCL injury in his elbow that led to surgery and is also preventing him from pitching until 2025. Such projections ultimately were no match for what actually transpired. The Dodgers, in particular, pressed hard by a competing bid from the Blue Jays, sources tell FOS. While Ohtani's historic exploits thus far in his career make him the closest thing to a sure bet among all MLB players, the deal, though, represents a massive show of faith not only by him and his agent, CAA Sports' Nez Baleo, but also by his new club, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ohtani is betting that he will remain healthy enough even after 2 major arm surgeries to perform at his prior dominant level. The Dodgers already have an enhanced sense of what they're getting here as team doctor Neil Elatre performed the latest surgery on his elbow. Meanwhile, the Dodgers themselves are already among MLB's perennial -- 1 attendance leaders and are currently locked into a 25-year, $8.35 billion media rights deal locally with Spectrum Cable, are also similarly at this rate, looking at the same exact exploits, and also betting that there is enough possibility for significant revenue growth to make the deal financially viable. Mark Gannis, who is the president of Chicago-based Sports Core Ltd. And a longtime sports industry consultant, told FOS the lift is going to come from this team being the biggest brand in baseball for the long foreseeable future. And to that end, no surprise, but of course, the Dodgers have become the #1 favorite at this rate for the 2024 World Series. Within mere minutes of Ohtani's announcement, MLB's official online shop set up a landing page for fans to enter their email address or phone number to be notified when Ohtani Dodger gear becomes available. However, though, there is a bit of a minor loophole in this. Online league merchandising is split across all 30 Major League ball clubs, so there will still be plenty of additional and much more meaningful revenue opportunities for the Dodgers. Currently, the former employer of Ohtani, the Los Angeles Angels, will also still be netting or estimated to have netted at least $10 and $20 million per year in Ohtani-related sponsorships and marketing revenue, a figure that will now potentially double with the superstar playing for the far more popular crosstown rivals in the Los Angeles Dodgers. The deal also brings together one of MLB's most prominent endorsers, as Ohtani himself makes more than $35 million per year off the field with one of the league's most popular and prominent teams at this rate. The Dodgers' value, already second highest across Major League Baseball at $4.8 billion, is now set to rise further and solidify the Dodgers as one of the world's most valuable sports franchises. Furthermore, though, local observers believe now it's actually winning at the true heart of the bold moves from the Dodgers and the Mark Walter-led ownership group. Since Walter and his Guggenheim baseball management company, including Stan Kasten and Magic Johnson, bought the Dodgers back in 2012 from embattled former owners Frank McCourt and his wife Jamie, the Dodgers at the time were worth $2.15 billion, have won 10 of the last 11 NL West Division championships, and have made the World Series 3 times in that span. Sadly for the Dodgers, the club's only World Series championship had come during the COVID-shortened 60-game 2020 season, a year so difficult and unusual in baseball history that questions have still surfaced on the real value of that World Series championship. Since 2020, the Dodgers have been bounced out by the eventual world champion Braves in 2021 and lost to 2 NL West Division rivals, the San Diego Padres in 2022, and just this past season, the Arizona Diamondbacks, 2 teams that they had simply owned over the course of the last regular seasons. Folks, I think we all knew this was going to happen. I know that we have another story that we'll bring up here about the coverage of the Ohtani sweepstakes. But I think any baseball fan out there knows or knew that the Los Angeles Dodgers were probably going to be the grand prize winner of this sweepstakes. Maybe there was a chance of the Angels because they basically have granted him staying anonymous to himself from the media. The Blue Jays because of reports that he liked the ballpark. It reminded him of playing back overseas in Japan. But we should not be at all surprised about this being the case, of that the Los Angeles Dodgers have all the resources possible. They're in the second largest media market in America behind New York, and they have the credit cards don't have any sort of issue. Like, they always seem to be in the mix on this. And I think, though, that when you are able, though, to land the big star, we always hear about LA and New York being the places for the stars, and I think we think about Los Angeles, though, the likes of Kobe Bryant with the Lakers, now with LeBron James with the Lakers, the Clippers, even with their run with Lob City, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. You think of the Rams winning the Super Bowl there fairly recently and how the NFL for so long would not be in Los Angeles until the Cronkies and Spanoses both agreed to move the Chargers and Rams out of their old markets to greener pastures in Inglewood. We think about the LA Kings, 2 championships in a very brief stretch back in 12 and 14, the first 8 seed to ever win the Stanley Cup, though. And also, you even think back in the 60s when Jack Kent Cooke bought the Kings and brought them into the league. And you think about the Lakers when they were kind of beginning their run, in the Showtime era. And then, of course, with Shaq and Kobe, that LA wants the big, flashy names. And I know that I think Ryan Pond, one of my great colleagues up in the greater Orange County, LA area, wrote in a few weeks ago saying that LA's market is oversaturated when it comes to pro sports. Again, you literally have, one true baseball team in LA. You have another one in Orange County, but claiming the LA television market. 2 NFL teams, 2 NBA teams, 2 MLS teams within 17 miles of each other. Like, LA always wants in, though. But for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I think for baseball fans out there, we knew this was coming. I think that we could have had, any team. It could have been the Oakland A's. It could have been the Royals. It could have been any team out there in on Shohei Ohtani. At the end of the day, I think every baseball fan out there, San Diego baseball fans included like myself, pretty much knew that Ohtani was going to be a Los Angeles Dodger because the Angels not winning during his career, the injuries that he had sustained, Mike Trout's health, Anthony Rendon's health, that a lot of the pieces around Shohei in Anaheim were not there. Now, though, he goes to the Dodgers, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, guys like that around him. And also I think that this is going, and I do think in a small way, though, I think that with the Dodgers having had some of the, some great Japanese players, you think of Hiroki Kuroda, Hideo Nomo, mainly like the main 2 that I can think of at least, Japanese sensations who came and played for the Dodgers, that there is a, following of his caliber. And I even read some stories leading up to it that a lot of the Japanese-based reporters who kind of in a way like freelance to follow Shohei, like in a way, we've heard a lot of these stories about like magazines and publications actually having like a Taylor Swift reporter, a Beyonce reporter to go follow Taylor Swift and Beyonce at red carpet events or at their concerts, or when they make public appearances at a NFL game with the Chiefs for Taylor Swift's case. We have the same exact craze with Shohei Ohtani. Now, maybe not the American media does, but I know, though, how big of a deal, though, it is for the Japanese baseball fans to see one of their own. I think that Ichiro and Hideo Nomo broke that barrier, I think, when they first came over here, early to late 90s, but of course, it wasn't as big of a deal now, I think, as it is with Shohei Ohtani. Though I think Ichiro still is like the number 1 most notable Japanese-born player, in my honest opinion. I think Shohei's 1B. I think that Hideo Nomo's 1C, or pretty damn close to it, though. But again, it's hard, though, when you are a player of Shohei Ohtani's caliber to not be drawn to like the likes of Los Angeles, New York, Chicago even. I know the Cubs were in there. And I know this is going to bring up a lot of smoke and mirrors from baseball fans about, well, we need a salary cap. Well, we need this. Well, we need that. The one issue, though, I am going to hit home here is why is this beyond putrid excuse of when a team like the San Diego Padres spend money on Manny Machado or spend money on Fernando Tatis Jr., Xander Bogaerts, or they get Juan Soto. When a team like the Padres does this, everyone out there, baseball fans and media pundits, crap upon that organization and say, this is bad for the game. Yet, though, when the Yankees get Juan Soto from the Padres, kind of like, again, that big market team taking away from a smaller market team, like taking candy from the baby, or in this case, the Dodgers sign Ohtani, it's praised by baseball fans and praised by the media pundits out there that this is good for the game. So why can't we have it both ways? Why is a team like the Padres, and I'm not saying this to stoke the Padre fan ego or, wave my Padre rally towel when I have nothing to really, cheer about in my hometown with the Padres not winning anything in franchise history. But why is it, though? Why has it been that way? When, like, the Angels signed Albert Pujols and Josh Hamilton, that it's not good for the game or great for the game in the opinions of those who cover the game or league executives that that the less fortunate franchise out there can't have nice things. It's like I said, though, a while back about, when the Padres got Eric Hosmer and Machado and they did all these moves, though, like, this sort of stuff never happens. And this is, and these moves here, at least locally, have really bolstered Padre fan support. Again, for the first time ever in club history, just a year ago, the Padres had a waiting list for season tickets. Like, this has never happened in my hometown in my close to 30 years living in San Diego. But yet, though, the Padres get overshadowed and kind of in a way, Padres, Angels, lesser, like not really lesser known teams, but like teams that people don't view as being able to spend money or that they shouldn't spend money. When they make bold moves like Machado for 11 years, Tatis for 14 years, Bogarts for 11 years, that is being viewed as being bad for the game. That we're seeing a small market town, small market city trying to put together a winning product to compete with the big Brinks trucks up the 5 freeway in the entertainment capital of the world in Los Angeles. So let's single out the small market city in San Diego. Let's crap upon that fan base. Let's crap upon that organization, because them spending money to make their ball club better when there's a bigger, badder ball club who has more resources at their disposal. The Padres spending money is bad for baseball, but the Yankees and Dodgers spending money on Ohtani or Soto is great for the game because it's the big market cities. It's what the media wants. That's the narrative that has to change. If the San Diego Padres can go out there and sign big-name players like Bogarts and Machado and lock up a young budding superstar in Tatis Jr., yet it's viewed from a different set of eyes that it's bad for the game of baseball, we have our priorities all screwed up, and that needs to change. Because just imagine if Ohtani went back to the Angels or did go to Toronto, that would have boosted an entire country's interest in a sport probably, I'd say, barely in their top 5, because Canada's focus is on lacrosse and hockey and maybe basketball with the Raptors. But when the Toronto Blue Jays are the only team in MLB north of the border, that right there could have locked in an entire, not just an entire province, that could have locked in an entire country behind the game of baseball, having the biggest name in the game being a part of their organization. Because I know for a long time the Blue Jays and Expos would fight over, who really is Canada's team. The Blue Jays, of course, won those 2 titles back in the 90s. But that whole narrative, though, about Ohtani going to the Dodgers being great for the game, that's good and all. But why is it a double standard, though, when, like, the Los Angeles Angels, I know they're not in L.A., but still, though, that they go out and sign players to, say, like, not really same type of contracts, though, but they land big-name superstars, or the Padres even land big-name superstars. Yet because the Angels and Padres are in the shadow of the almighty Dodgers, it's viewed as being bad for the game. That's the one narrative I really want to kick down the road here, is that stop with the double standards. If it's going to be one way for, the Dodgers getting all these big-name players and half their payroll going to 3 players, and that is great for the game, yet the San Diego Padres are not allowed to, in people's minds, they can't go and sign a big-name superstar because it's bad for the game because it's San Diego, California. It may be the 8th largest city by population, but who really cares about sports in San Diego when you have the beach to go distract yourself at? That's the whole, BS argument that needs to be flushed down the toilet right here and right now. If you have a team out there that wants to make their club better, especially in the NL West division, where the Dodgers have again added another layer to the gauntlet already, with Ohtani, then it should be the same exact reason or same exact thing. Okay, well, if Ohtani signs with the Dodgers, then it should be perfectly fine for the Giants to go get somebody, or the Padres, or Arizona, or Colorado. Like, stop the whole narrative that it's only about the big bad spenders or the big bad wolf of this division. Same goes in the AL East. If Ohtani would have gone to Toronto, okay, then someone else out there should be able to make a big move without having some sort of stupid ass repercussion from people out there that maybe don't like that organization. That is the only narrative that I hate when it comes to a move like this. Ohtani, I get it, goes to the Dodgers. It is what it is. Accept it and move on, though. But when another team in their division, like the Padres, does what they have done over the past couple of years, though, with Machado and Tatis and Bogarts, how in the world can you view that as being bad for the game? I know it may not be sustainable, but you should at least be happy and at least give some credit, though, that there is a small market franchise trying to maybe do a bit more than they probably could, though. But don't view that as being bad for a game like baseball, which has been dying a slow death probably since 2019 before COVID even hit, though. That's more of my gripe here. Now, again, this is going to be great for the Dodgers, though, again, because you can, again, add another superstar to that list of players that is already on that roster when it comes to Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Will Smith and Clayton Kershaw and stuff like that, though. I know that Ohtani's deferring a lot of money, though, too, when it comes down to him only getting $2 million for the next several years, though. But still, though, why not question the big market team for once? Why not question the Dodgers? Like, do you know what you're getting here? A guy who's been on 2 Tommy John surgeries. Yeah, he can still hit, though. But is he going to really be at his full potential when it boils down, though, to him getting back on the mound in 2025? Who's not to say if he has a third surgery, does he have to become a closer? Does he have to become a one-inning reliever? Is he an opener? Or what may happen? And I don't wish that upon this guy because, he's, what he's done for the game, though. Now, I do know, though, there might be a small drumbeat minority out there saying that Shohei Ohtani may have hurt himself, with how he's going to be perceived now because, here he was a budding superstar with a somewhat, small market organization and did so many great things for the Angel organization. But now it's almost like that saying, though, of you live long enough to see yourself as a villain. How does this come about, though, now that he could have, in a way, been the franchise, like one of the franchise superstars with the Angels, but now they're going and take, like, maybe in a way, in some people's minds, he takes the easy way out and goes to a ball club who has had a lot of success, though, but has only had one fringe championship on their mantle. But at the end of the day, though, folks, really no surprise, though. But again, it kind of goes back to the point I brought up, though, kind of off the cuff here, is I just want it to be both ways. If it's good, if it's good for the Dodgers to get Shohei Ohtani, why is it bad? If Ohtani going to the Dodgers is good for the game, as a lot of the pundits say, he's in a number 2 market in, number 2 media market. But why is it bad for the game when the Padres sign Manny Machado or Bogarts or Tatis Jr.? Again, I don't want to make this sound like, though, I'm like the bitter Padre fan. I view this more of like, why the double standard? Why is it good, though, for these big market clubs like the Yankees and the Dodgers to get all these big name guys? But when teams like the Padres are trying to keep up pace with the Dodgers and they assemble their own little nice cast and crew of Machado and Bogarts and Tatis Jr. and players like that, that's being viewed as being bad for the game. But New York and LA getting, big overpriced players is great for the game. That's the narrative, though, that I want to see stop. Because if you're trying to dethrone the Dodgers and Yankees every single season for the division championship, then you should be able to go out there and make moves like what the Padres had done recently and not face scrutiny from people who don't really know what's going on internally within the organization. And I think that's kind of where the frustration maybe lies, I think, in a lot of people's minds. That's why I use the hashtag San Diego versus everybody, because a move like this, though, just makes it even harder for San Diego, San Francisco, Arizona, and Colorado now to try to dethrone the Dodgers of the NL West Division Championship. In wake of the Ohtani sweepstakes, MLB beat writer and USA Today beat writer Bob Nightingale has called out his fellow writers, calling them an embarrassment to the journalism community, saying in part to awfulannouncing.com that we have made fools of ourselves plenty of times before in the history of baseball media, but we have taken this to new heights, he tells Andrew Buchholz of awfulannouncing.com. But USA Today's Bob Nightingale is best known for his baseball reporting and columns, but he's apparently now diving into a media critic role as well. Bob Nightingale played a key role in Shohei Ohtani reporting on Friday, pushing back on John Paul Morosi's earlier report on Friday that Ohtani was, quote-unquote, en route to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays, with a tweet that said that Ohtani is not, in caps, on a flight to Toronto, and Ohtani is at home in Southern California. And Nightingale's pushback proved to be right. JP Morosi later recanted his report, and Ohtani then signed on Saturday with the LA Dodgers. And on Sunday, Bob Nightingale weighed in all that in strong terms, using his column to say that we baseball writers have disgraced ourselves, becoming an embarrassment to the journalism community, open and close quote. Bob's piece on Sunday sees Nightingale blast both the Ohtani reporting and also the reporting on his own exchange with Cubs president Jed Hoyer after one of his reports did not pan out. Part of what Bob wrote on Sunday reads in part the following in regards to his exchange with ESPN 1000's Jesse Rogers. We have made fools of ourselves plenty of times before in the history of baseball media, anywhere from criticizing the integrity of the game, or the interrogation of the game, I should say, to calling Ohtani a fraud in his first spring training, but we have taken this to brand new heights. It was reported on Friday early morning that Ohtani's decision was imminent. Well, that was news to Ohtani and his agency, who had a private appointment later in the day and knew there would be no announcement. Ohtani was still sleeping at his home in Newport Beach, California, when this flight took off, but that did not stop furious reporting with TV and radio reporters tracking the flight in real time. Nightingale makes some great points here, and valid points, including that part of the challenge in free agency reporting is that teams cannot officially say anything until a player passes their physical exams. He's also likely right that much of the news out there comes from particular players' agents to particular insiders. In fact, Bob actually claims that that's 95%, maybe higher, or of where that kind of news comes from. And Nightingale is right that the coverage of the Ohtani saga on Friday got somewhat out of hand. That saw reports from both J.P. Hornstra and J.P. Morosi eventually proving false. And it saw too much attention, Sally, that it got taken and ran with and went viral across all of the World Wide Web, when in fact those reports did come out early on Friday morning. Nightingale is also right that the coverage, as mentioned, was somewhat out of hand. But beyond that, though, Bob had maybe even more interesting comments on the Jed Hoyer saga. There, he admits his own reporting shortcoming, but takes issue with how his discussion with Jed Hoyer was characterized elsewhere, including as a stern exchange by ESPN 1000's Jesse Rogers, who was also a MLB.com beat writer for ESPN.com. You know, I do believe that Bob Nightingale is right, though, in a small stretch here. Free agency in any sport is difficult to cover because you hear things from one source and then something like this does come about, though. But I do think in a small way that the criticism of how John Paul Morosi handled this, though it's valid, seems to be a little bit over-exaggerated, I think, though. Because now we've kind of entered an area, folks, where reporters can't make mistakes. Where if you make a mistake, you're crucified, you're canceled, and you're looking for a new line of work 9 times out of 10. Though I do feel that the comments by Bob Nightingale are correct, though, and I actually think, though, that he's right, though. This whole entire saga could have been played out, I think, in a very different way. Because I think, sadly, the Ohtani camp wanting immunity and wanting to be silent and private I do think goes to a lot of points that we heard maybe across the board from ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, where here you could have owned the headlines. Like, in a way, this could have been the LeBron James decision in a way from 10 plus years ago, but they chose not to go that route. But I do kind of sometimes wonder a little bit, though I know that JP Hornstra, sorry if I got his name wrong, but I kind of think, though, that when you see like Dodgers Nation pop up, like, I kind of do feel like, though, that the only problem with this is that JP, though I know he's a great writer, he has a lot of great experience, though, but kind of like that fan blog kind of in a way coming out with a report like this, though, is where I kind of think like the gray area is being entered when it comes to not necessarily like big, like credible sources, but it does, though, kind of in a way make people wonder, though, about like an SB Nation writer or a fan site writer like this. Like, maybe that's where the, like the whole embarrassment comes into the frame. But I also think, though, that in some small way that the Ohtani camp wanting secrecy is what I think is one problem. And sadly, I do think the way that it was handled on Friday and into Saturday is also a little bit of a concern. And I think, though, that Bob Nightingale might be right, though, that the writers maybe have gone to an all-time low. But I still think, though, that there needs to be some, not necessarily like respect shown, but we're entering an area now, it seems like, with this, that if you report anything that is wrong, that you are basically crucified by the rest of your colleagues. And I don't think that's fair, because I think that there should be some sort of like respect being shown. I know that we all want to be the first to break the big story. And in a very weird comparison, I remember watching a London television-based documentary on the 50th anniversary of JFK's assassination. But this talked about the events of that day from the news media perspective, about how things were reported on back in the 60s in regards to JFK and all that sort of stuff, though. But that it was more of like, get it first, but make sure you get it right. We're now at that stage here in 2023 where it doesn't matter if it's right, wrong, or a hot take or a rumor. We hear it, it has to be put on Twitter. It has to go on Threads. It has to go on Instagram. It has to go on Facebook to at least begin the conversation. But I do still kind of feel like, though, that Bob Nightingale's quote, though, again, that writers have become an embarrassment to the community of journalism, that's a little far-fetched, because I think that every small journalism community has that one report, that one writer, maybe, where things, don't really pan out, though. But I think that the ball was fumbled from the get-go, not by John Paul Morosi, and also not by JP Hoonstra of Dodgers Nation. Those two guys didn't drop the ball. I honestly think if Shohei Ohtani's camp would have been a bit more transparent and not been so hush-hush, this whole thing would have been a way different story. But kind of looking back at some of the other reports, though, in this story that Andrew Buchholz of AwfulAnnouncing.com talks about here. He says, in part, though, that at any rate, Bob Nightingale makes some valid points about the challenges in current baseball reporting. But the quote, though, of it being an embarrassment to the journalism community is going too far itself. Every branch of journalism will see plenty of errors, and two particular wrong reports on where a famously secretive free agent is going are not the be-all, end-all of journalism integrity or mistakes. there is definitely going to be room for reflection in the wake of the false Ohtani reports that came out and the fear around the idea of him to Toronto. And it is, though, fair that Bob offers his thoughts here. Baseball reporters could certainly do better here, but this may not be as much of an overall baseball journalism crisis as he makes it out to sound. That's where I think I agree. If we're crucifying John Paul Morosi and crucifying JP Moonstra of Dodgers Nation over one false report of Shohei Ohtani, then the baseball journalism community is in fact wrong. And if Bob Nightingale is going to be leading this charge, to basically, in a way, rat out colleagues of his, rat out fellow baseball writers who are covering the same sport as he is, then maybe that is the problem. But if we're going to sit here right now and basically judge careers of two well-known, I didn't know much about JP Hornstra, and John Paul Morosi, who has worked for both MLB Network and the NHL Network and has done some great things, though, with his coverage. If we will be letting a mistake like this ruin these two writers' careers, then our priorities in journalism, in the journalism community, are absolutely off kilter. But at the same time, though, I also think back, though, to the times that Bob Nightingale's been wrong and Ken Rosenthal's been wrong. But did anyone go out there and go after Bob Nightingale when he got reports wrong about the Padres maybe being in on Max Scherzer? Didn't see that coming. So I think the only thing I would say here, though, is support those who support you. Let's not turn, this community into every man for himself, barbed wire, no holds barred matches because a couple of guys who fumbled a report, like scapegoating them for the matter at hand, is not paying any dividends. Because as we already know, though, that it's hard, I think, to even, and I think it was even said here, though, too, it is hard nowadays to really, talk about free agency, especially when the players' camp wants immunity, wants to remain, quiet, private, you name it. But I do think that in a way that the comments by Bob Nightingale, there were some good points in there, though, but I'm not going to sit here and crucify the careers of two baseball writers who fumbled the ball. I think it's just beyond unfair that in the day and age society that we are in right now, that we are so quick, someone screws up, with the report, they screw up someone's name, that we're so quick to say, nope, get him out of here. They screwed up. You have to be perfect. I don't care. Come hell or high water. Until all of us in this community of journalism integrity or of sports media and sports writing, until cooler heads can prevail and the general public out there can stop and look themselves in the mirror and know that we're not all perfect. Reporting won't be perfect, especially nowadays when you can hear, things from 20,000 different sources. I agree with Bob Nightingale in a small way. But let's not ruin the careers of these two writers, especially John Paul Morosi, because they were first on the scoop and didn't get it right, though. That's my only gripe in this whole entire ordeal, though, is that now at this rate, we want to cancel and we want to basically ruin careers that have been made over the last 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 decades with these two beat writers and two reporters, that we have to fire them. We have to cancel them. We can't trust them anymore because they had a lead that Shohei Ohtani was going to the Blue Jays. Did we forget there was a report that came out the week prior that Shohei had met with the Blue Jays down in Dundon, Florida? Did we forget that Ross Atkins had a scheduled press conference and that got canned at the last minute because of, unforeseen circumstances? Did we also forget that Dave Roberts kind of, in a way, broke the levee by saying that Shohei Ohtani was their top priority, and here we all thought that maybe that was going to ruin the Dodgers' chances of them signing Shohei Ohtani? There's other factors out here. There are a lot of other factors out here, folks, that don't hinge on two false reports, though, from two writers who probably, in a way, feel like crap, that they screwed up and got something wrong, though. Yet we can't accept J.P. Morosi's, apology that he got it wrong. Instead, no, what do? we stoop to all-time lows, though, of calling him an embarrassment to the baseball writing community. We want to cancel his career. That he needs to be thrown, fired from his job because of one mess up. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, at the rate that we're going here, folks, that's almost in a way what people out there want. If it's not right from the get-go, we all want people fired. We want people to lose their pay, lose their house, lose their benefits, lose everything that they have built their careers on because they get one report in the middle of December wrong. I think the blame here can be cast, and I think that, and yes, there is blame to be cast on both Morosi and the Dodgers Nation writer, but it should not cost them their careers or the faith and trust that have already been given to them by their outlets. Stuff like this happens. But for anyone out there to sit, to be a couch potato or a keyboard warrior and want to call for these two guys to lose their job because they got one thing wrong, when he could also blame Ohtani's camp for wanting to keep things, so hush-hush behind the scenes, that's where most of my blame goes. This could have dominated the sports headlines. Now, quickly, I do, though, as well, applaud J.J. Watt, who came out and said, Ohtani not having his plans out is his business, and that should be left up to him, though. Where, again, we heard pundits say, no, you need it, it needs to be out there. Like, we need the story, blah, 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 blah. I get that, but also, like, players, to their credit, are allowed their privacy when they are going through this process. Where it boils down to, again, you're moving your family, you're moving to in this case, moving up the freeway, but still, you're moving to a new market, new part of town. Friends, family have to be considered as well. And also, like I said, I would just hate for a screw up, a mess up, a mistake. Who out there's not made a mistake in their life? I know I have plenty of times. I know you have plenty of times. Yet, one mistake is going to perhaps be the all-in, B-end, highlight, lowlight of the career of John Paul Morosi and this other writer from Dodgers Nation. Like we want to define their career off one mistake. That's where I think where it's unfair. Unless there is somebody out there who can prove to me that they've never made a mistake at the job site, at home, with family, with friends, their spouse, introduce them to me. I would love to see somebody out there who has not once screwed up. Yet, a lot of people out there, I'm sure, are in the mentions of both these writers and calling them names, vile names, a lot of different mudslingings going on, and yet probably saying, you need to be fired because you screwed up this report, though. Unless you can do this job a hell of a lot better than I can, shut your mouth and move on. Because at the rate that we're going here, folks, I know it's one thing to, believe what you want to believe and stuff like that. But now we're talking about people's careers and livelihoods and lives being on the line here because of the job that they do and the fact that one small mistake surrounding the biggest name in Major League Baseball, people want him fired. Unless someone out there has never screwed up at at their job, keep your trap shut. Unless someone out there can show me that, they've never been late for work, they haven't gotten to they haven't had to have a talk to with the boss, or maybe that they screwed up on a group project somewhere, or whatever the case may be. Don't sit here and crucify other people's careers because they got one thing wrong when it came down to covering baseball free agency. The blame can be cast, though, I know. But also, part of that blame, though, I think has to go, like I said earlier, the blame has to go a little bit, though, on the Ohtani camp for the secrecy. And also the fact, though, that believe what you want to believe, though. But don't sit here and try to cancel and try to have John Paul Morosi and have the other writer lose their jobs because they had to be absolutely 100% correct about Shohei Ohtani going somewhere. That's more of where the gripe is. And in a roundabout way, though, I do think that Bob Nightingale's right that maybe his core of writers or that the writers maybe have in a way not had the best, performances recently, though. But still, though, some of those comments, though, not really my cup of tea, though. But at the same time, though, I do think, though, that a good chunk of the blame, though, has to go to Shohei's camp, though, and how it played out, though. But I still would say, though, that we can't sit here, folks, and nitpick at John Paul Morosi and nitpick at fellow sports writers who, in a way, they were all left in the dark. Because if something came out about Ohtani going anywhere other than Dave Roberts' comments, who knows what would have happened. So I think it's a very rock and a hard place situation when it comes to that whole thing, though. But again, folks, Bob Nightingale, in a way, calling out his fellow brothers and sisters in the baseball writing world, seeing that they have embarrassed themselves and they are a embarrassment to the journalistic community, which I think is very far-fetched. With that, folks, it is now academics versus athletics. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, in their potential upgrades to their football stadium of $450 million, has come under some recent fire in recent days. But the Cornhuskers football program is heading into the winter after its 7th straight losing season with a losing record and no bowl game invites. Despite the lack of success on the playing field, the Huskers are now planning a $450 million renovation of Memorial Stadium, all while millions of dollars are set to be cut from the university's academic budget. Over the next 2 years, the entire NU system is looking at the projected budget deficit of $58 million, with academic programs could be cut and staff could also be laid off. And for some, that's not adding up in a right way. The American Association of University Professors President Irene Mulvey told the AP that they have their priorities all wrong, open and close quote. The athletics and academic budgets are funded separately, and public dollars do not support athletic teams at universities. Just a year ago, Nebraska athletics generated more than $143 million in revenue, and Nebraska's AD Trev Alberts is tasked with persuading donors to provide enough money for the stadium renovations. And a telltale example of how college cash problems can also impact college athletics, though, both the University of Arizona Wildcats and the ASU Sun Devils are also facing some very small but similar issues at their disposal at this time as well, going with the fact that the Wildcats, at least, are facing a $240 million school-wide shortage following a drastic miscalculation in their financial modeling that could impact sports programs, with U of A fielding 23 programs, and cuts are being considered. Last month, Arizona's president, Robert Robbins, said that everything is on the table in terms of dealing with athletics, open and close quote. This goes to a point that I know that a fellow colleague of ours, Stephen Wang, has always long said, and him and I both agreed, though. The purpose of a college is not about athletics. It's about academics. And sadly, that notion has gone out the window. And I believe a lot of that goes back to the old argument about conference realignment. The lead goal of the University of Nebraska, folks, is not about how well the Cornhuskers play in volleyball or football, basketball, or baseball. The purpose of the University of Nebraska is to get as many kids in that town and at that university across the graduation stage into the real world. Simple as that. But I know that college athletics, we are entering a new era. NIL deals are a thing. The transfer portal has basically become free agency de facto style when it comes to football and volleyball and other sports out there. But at the same time, though, this is kind of the gray area we're entering now. Because one could say that, hey, Nebraska, you're not playing great in football. Don't worry about the stadium right now. That I agree with 100%. And I believe right now that Irene Mulvey is right. In their opinion, Nebraska has their priorities all wrong. I would say probably a good chunk of schools out there do have their priorities mixed up. Because, folks, at the end of the day, like I said, it is not the goal of Nebraska, not the goal of the University of Arizona. The goal is not the ultimate goal from the university standpoint. Take athletics out of the equation for just a second. The ultimate number one goal of these institutions is simple. We want our students walking across that graduation stage in December, in January, and in May. We want our students with a diploma in hand walking across that stage into the real world. At the end of the day, folks, that is the only goal that these universities care about. Sadly, though it might be hard for some people out there to think of this, academics are second, but athletics are second. That is not the priority of Nebraska or Arizona or any college out there. The athletic programs are a lot like extracurricular activities. They are a secondary thing. The lead goal of these institutions is just that, academics. First and foremost comes academics. And the fact, though, that the budgets don't line up for Nebraska right now, and even for that matter at U of A, this is where we enter a gray area. Though I know that it might be great about moving conferences, though. But again, this goes back to my tired argument. I know you all hate me saying this sort of stuff. I know it's about football. But now when you hear the fact that Arizona might have to cut other sports, I know that they don't sell to you people out there. They do for me and they don't for you. This is where we enter a very dangerous spot. That just because you're not a football player, no one cares about your sport. That is more along the lines of why I think now that I feel even worse for student athletes who are not a part of the football team, because now there's a chance that Arizona, your sport is going to be chopped off, is going to be, discontinued because their budgets don't line up with the school at this rate. Again, that they're facing a $240 million school-wide shortage following drastic miscalculations in their financial modeling, which could impact Wildcat sports programs. And that Arizona has 23 varsity teams playing D1 athletics. If you are a member of 22 of those 23 teams, except football, I would be very, very concerned that these miscalculations are going to result in me as a student athlete who does not play football, seeing my sport getting axed out of the program and getting discontinued, where I'm going to have to probably transfer to another school that has enough money to fund my team. And I know a lot of that, though, happened, folks, at the high point of COVID, where I think Stanford and Minnesota all in a way had to cut some of their big name or, cut some what they would call non-revenue generating sports because, again, it wasn't football. Until everything stops relying on college football, more athletes are going to be harmed by what's going on here. That is why I think I am very grateful that the University of San Diego is not driven by their football team. They are, but they aren't, though, because the West Coast Conference is a men's basketball conference. It is more run by basketball, not driven by football. But now, though, when it comes to this, though, again, folks, Nebraska once more is looking for $450 million of renovations for their football stadium, which also could mean budget cuts will be coming for some academic programs. And again, it goes back, though, to the headline here from Dave Rumsey of FOS. Is it now, though, where athletics is overtaking academics? Which leads back to my main point. The main objective of this university is not about the Cornhuskers winning the national championship in football. The lead priority is getting those students who go there, pay that insane tuition to go to this university, and get them across the stage for graduation day. Not about what the teams do in the Big 12 conference for athletics. That is the only thing, though. That is the main thing I want to say, though, that is crushing college athletics, though, especially now that we have NILs in place and now that the transfer portal is essentially de facto free agency. I really just think, though, that, you know, I know things probably won't change right away, though, but it should, though, come to a point, though, where the other teams who aren't the football program, leave them alone. You know, I know that they don't bring in, you know, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people to a stadium or an arena, but you simply cannot sacrifice student athletes, or for that matter, students in general. You can't afford to sacrifice that due to, you know, stadiums, or for that matter, the budgeting for the athletic department. You know, and again, I would just really hate for a sport not named football, even named basketball for that matter, to be discontinued because the budgeting is going towards the football program. And I think, though, too, especially if you are a program like Nebraska, I think you divert some of that money away from football until they start winning again. You know, that may be stupid in your mind, though, but at the end of the day, though, I know it's about football. But then if you are discontinuing other sports because of your football program, then you have your priorities all wrong. And I think that goes a little bit to Irene Mulvey's quote to the AP that they, being Nebraska, have their priorities all wrong, though, where right now the entire Nebraska university system is looking at a projected budget deficit of nearly $58 million, that academic programs could be cut and staff laid off, though. That right there is a bigger concern. That is the only concern that anyone out there should have. Forget athletics for a second, which goes back to the point I brought up earlier in the block here of the segment. The goal of Nebraska University is to get as many students across the graduation stage. Who gives a crap if they win the national title in football? That is the least of the school president and school chancellors. It's not on their radar. Their radar is getting those kids who are in the university across that graduation stage into the real working world with a degree in hand. Then you also talk about staff being laid off academically because, oh no, got to put money towards the athletic department. Got to put money towards the football team, though they suck right now and haven't won, you know, have had 7 straight losing seasons. Priorities are out of whack across college athletics. Simple as that. What more do I have to say? Until we realize, once again, before we move on to our last topic here, until we all can get it through our thick skulls, the goal of San Diego State University, the University of San Diego, the University of California, San Diego, the University of Arizona, and Nebraska, the goals of those universities are not about winning conference championships and not winning the college football playoff and not winning March Madness. That is not a priority of the school leadership. I'm talking the chancellors, the presidents, the donors to academics. That is not what they're worried about. They are more worried about that student who comes in who does not play athletics, who is going there on a communications major and journalism minor to get them across the stage into the real working world. So until we're able to flip that narrative and get our priorities back in order, like Nebraska needs to, as does U of A, where you put more money towards what the school is supposed to be doing, getting these kids prepped for the real world, though, after life after college, and not about football and basketball and TV revenue from the CFP. Where's the end goal is not going to be about one university winning March Madness in basketball or winning the CFP. I will look at it more of like how many kids actually graduated that aren't athletes. And then, like I said, though, earlier, how about all those kids who are on a non-football sport that may have to look elsewhere because of the budget not being there? Sorry, women's rowing has been discontinued. Softball is being discontinued. Baseball is being discontinued. Those are more of the priorities I worry about, more than, yay, we won a national championship. That's all goody two-shoes and good. But at the end of the day, though, it's not going to mean a whole lot to a university president or chancellor that you won the whole kit and caboodle. They will be more concerned and worried about their graduation rates. Everything else is secondary. Again, athletics is a extracurricular activity. So until we're able to flip this notion out there, yeah, NILs are great. Yeah, the transfer portal is great, though. But again, I would rather see these kids play their sports and then graduate and have that special sash that reads student athlete. Because again, like my dad always said, you are a student first and an athlete second. So let's get it all through our skulls, folks. Colleges don't care about athletics as much as we may think. They are more worried about their graduation rates and their acceptance rates when they bring in new freshmen. Everything else is secondary at this rate. Plain and simple, case closed. With that in mind, though, folks, one final story for the afternoon. Adam Silver, just days after the NBA awarded the first ever NBA Cup on Saturday to the LA Lakers, says the league could tweak some aspects of future in-season tournaments in wake of the first rendition of it coming to a close on Saturday at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. With the Lakers winning the first ever tournament, though, future editions of the season tournament could see some more tweaks come to fruition, writes front office sports beat writer Dave Rumsey as well earlier on Monday into the weekend. The Lakers have added some hardware to their storied history of accomplishments inside the NBA. After they beat the Pacers on Saturday in the final game of the first ever in-season tournament, the Lakers won the first ever NBA Cup championship trophy. By most indications, though, the NBA's attempt at a European soccer-style addition to the regular season was successful in picking up interest among players, coaches, owners, media partners, and fans. The tournament, though, will be coming back next season, but could, though, be evolving as the competition does grow. League Commissioner Adam Silver was in Vegas as the tournament's final four took place. Adam Silver did not guarantee any changes for future editions of the IST, but did admit, though, that several aspects will be reviewed going forward, like the point differential tiebreaker during group stage play. Silver did say, in quote, partly, I'm not ready necessarily to move away from it, but if ultimately there's going to be a sense, particularly from our American fans, that it's somehow an indication of poor sportsmanship, that's not a good idea for us to be doing it, and maybe there's some ways that we can tweak it, open and close quote. Another big aspect of a tournament might undergo a change involves the very distinctive colored courts, which sparks some controversy among players. Adam Silver said he's a fan of the courts, but no safety will be a priority. Additionally, Silver acknowledged that players' request for prize money to be raised. The winning team of the tournament's winning players and coaches each got $500,000 each, while runners-up took home $200,000 apiece, and semifinal game losers took home $100,000 each. He further says that this is a business, and I don't think there's anything wrong with money being a motivator in certain cases, open and close quote. Like I said, folks, last week here on Press Row, it was maybe 4 or 5 bullet points. Main thing, of course, media right bargaining, early season TV viewership, expansion talks for Vegas and maybe Seattle, player participation for a fourth thing, and again, gauging fan interest in the early part of the season. And I think, though, that this entire ordeal was a win. Now, again, it was year one. But like I said, though, last week on Press Row here is the fact that I probably were a lot like a lot of you out there, puzzled, confused, on the fence about how this might in fact play out, though. However, I do think, though, that I will probably be one of the very few who says I actually enjoyed the in-season tournament. Because it goes back to what I had said, though, about the NBA trying to find a niche inside of the early season TV viewership numbers for a bit of a lull of the regular season, with it being the early part of the season, where, again, we have other priorities right now. A lot of people out there have priorities right now with the NFL and fantasy football. Other people may have, college basketball interest, NHL interests. That there's a lot of different things going on out there that maybe could be consummated in regards to where things are at right now and whatnot. But also, I do think that Tim Bontemps of ESPN.com had a bit of a longer layout of what maybe the NBA might even consider for the in-season tournament coming up next season in regards to the tweaks here. So Tim Bontemps of ESPN.com, folks, goes a little bit further here. So he has 7 questions he lays out here. First question being this: will a team ever get something for winning the tournament? The main big talking point over the past several weeks around potential changes for the tournament was adding a reward for the championship team. The Lakers, for example, simply own the tournament, winning all 7 of their games by more than 19 points per contest. But the rewards are limited to the players and coaches earning cash prizes for their accomplishment. People around the league believe that there should be some sort of incentive given to teams for winning this tournament, beginning as soon as next season, connecting the tournament to fans beyond their teams winning games and players and coaches getting money. As it stands right now, even the idea of a potential automatic playoff berth was even given to the winner of the in-season tournament. Though a top 6 playoff berth was universally seen as a bridge too far among league insiders spoken to ESPN, one idea, though, that had more support was guaranteeing the winner of the tournament at least the number 7 seed, meaning that they would host 2 home games to earn their way into the postseason. One pushback to that idea, though, is that it goes a bit against the idea of the play-in tournament and what the league has done by giving teams incentive to push through the end of the regular season. Several others, including Laker head coach Darvin Ham, even said that there should be draft-related incentives if the team wins the NBA Cup during the in-season tournament. Secondly, though, will the cash prize increase, though, for players and coaches? We'll see what comes out of that. Of course, they talk about the new courts. Again, a little bit rough there for the most part. Will they keep the NBA Cup name, perhaps? We'll see what they choose to do with that. Could the groups look different maybe going forward? This year, the league had 5 groups evenly drawn based on last season's standings. In addition, some confusion over group names like East Group A, West Group B, and so on, having 5-team groups that were not the divisions, teams typically play-in made it awkward at times knowing which teams were in which groups. That has led some league insiders to propose having the groups be the divisions teams usually play in. This could also solve the naming issue. However, grouping by division would likely lead to more unbalanced groups and would also remove the draw as a event, something the league did do to great fanfare in Vegas Summer League last July. But the main complaint was that at least one of the 5 teams in each group was done playing before the final night of group play, watching from home while other teams had some control over their own destiny. For example, the Magic lost out on advancing from East Group C while not playing on the final night of the tournament. Once the league, though, does go to 32 teams at some point, an easy solution to solve this problem would be to match the FIBA World Cup format and have 8 groups of 4 teams. Till that happens, though, the league could still, though, the league could shift perhaps to 5 6-team groups. Doing so would add a extra group stage game, and 3 wildcard teams make the knockout round, potentially giving more paths to better teams to advance. And also, will they also perhaps keep the tiebreaker for point differential? And could the schedule look different, though, as well at this rate? Again, folks, this was year one. This in a way is a lot like what I would feel like is Coast to Coast Network doing the Immaculate Grid right now. We're kind of in a way like in a trial stage right now. So of course it's not going to be perfect right away. It's not going to be perfect right away at the stage that we're at right now. And I think that with more time, once more time goes on, that things I believe are going to be different. That they're going to be better. That they're going to find a way to make it work. I think. But I think for the first year, folks, I give this a grade A. I give this a clean bill of health, though. Again, I was very invested watching some of the group play games, watching the knockout round. But like I said, though, it may not have been great, though, year one, folks. But again, it brought people to games in the slow season, November, early December. And again, it locked in viewers on television. At the end of the day, folks, that's what really is the only concern of the NBA. Did we get people in seats, and did we get people watching on television? Simple as that. And so far, with what we had seen, though, with the in-season tournament, I'm all for this. But again, it's year one, and things can certainly be tweaked and changed, though, as more time does go on into the next season, next year. I, for one, would probably keep the format, but again, tweak it. And again, the tweak may be, you change up the group format, maybe in a way, what you probably do is that, and I don't think it would work, though, sadly, because you'd be having, I think it's 4 or 5, or it's like 3, I think it's 3 5-team divisions right now with 15 teams per conference right now. I don't know really how you'd be able to make it work, though, in regards to like crossover. So I think, though, that I'm fine with how it is right now. But I would definitely tweak some stuff, though, in regards to maybe regular playing courts. I know it was cool, though, to like have like the NBA Cup, like it kind of brought back the feels of the Larry O'Brien being behind the team logos at midcourt, though. But again, player safety is one thing. When it comes to, again, those weird court designs, again, the Bulls and that all red floor was a little bit interesting and kind of cool, though, at the same time. But honestly, from my perspective, I am all in on the in-season tournament, again, because it brings people into the NBA when it's usually the slow season. Again, early, November into December, that's more along the lines of like why I was like so high on it is the NBA saw their problem. Early season TV viewership. Early season attendance in maybe certain markets, and that the IST, I think, really helped. From what I heard, too, from players, they absolutely love the idea. Again, Kevin Durant said it right, though, after the Suns and Lakers played in the semifinals. Katie said, this felt like a playoff game. And again, LeBron James said it better, I think, though. If you are going to put something on the line, a trophy, cash prizes like this, let's get it on, basically. Like, who out there doesn't want to see competition? And I know people out there probably are saying, the NBA rigged it for the Lakers. LeBron James, blah, 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 blah. And now we have, and I know people are out there saying, and now people are saying, LeBron's greatest of all time now because Michael Jordan never won the in-season tournament. It's like I wrote, though, to our Coast to Coast host chat on Saturday night. I might be a Laker fan, folks, but I'm not as delusional as most Laker fans out there, including one of our own here on Coast to Coast and Isaiah Leung. Because I view things as a realistic fan. I don't get caught up in ball washing LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Simple as that. Like, I love the Lakers, but I'm not out here always boasting about how great the Lakers are, though. And also for the fact, like I said, though, on this particular pod last week, LeBron James might be the greatest player of this era. Not all time, of this era. Because look at it, folks. LeBron has played in an era right now, like himself, where players don't stay loyal to one franchise. There's no Larry Bird walking through the door. There's no Magic Johnson walking through the door. No Kobe Bryant, God bless his soul, walking through the door. And there sure as hell is no Michael Jordan walking through the door either, where those guys play for one team their whole career. I know about what happened with Michael Jordan with the Wizards, though. But you catch my drift, though. All those players played for one team and one team only. They weren't out here chasing endorsements and championships like it is right now in this current era. And also, Jordan did not play in a time, though, either, where the league had to put a policy in to require players to participate in their games. It's simple as that, folks. I don't want to hear any of this ludicrous nonsense about LeBron being best of all time. He's the best of a different era in NBA history. And that is coming, folks, from a LA Laker fan through and through from their first three, their three-peat in 2000, because I didn't know that we did not have a team here in San Diego. It's simple as that. I don't want to hear anything else, though, about this whole GOAT debate. It's Michael Jordan, Bill Russell as my main two. Though I never saw Russell play. But hearing about his stories, though, in his career, though, and obviously Michael Jordan, I got to watch at the very end of his career, though. But I do think, though, that the in-season tournament, getting back on track here, I know I've blown a gasket a couple times on the program today, and I apologize for that because that's not usually who I am. The in-season tournament worked, but it can be tweaked. But I think that now that we've seen this play out for a full year, I definitely think that this is going to be something that will keep me intrigued to watch early season basketball. Because typically my calendar for basketball doesn't start till Christmas Day. When in the past I've been sick on Christmas Day, I just lay on the couch, get myself better, and I just watch hoops all day. It's simple as that. But now that you have some intrigue now, in-season tournament going on, and again, you're putting something on the line. Who out there doesn't think this is a great idea? I don't think it was a slam dunk by the NBA. I think that things can be definitely tweaked and changed and updated as more time goes on. But I like the direction they're going, though, because again, it brought in an average of over 18,000 plus fans to every IST game played in these markets. They had a 30% increase in TV viewership in those time slots on ESPN and Turner. So those two things right there for the NBA should tell them, you got something good here. Now let's tweak it. In a way, the in-season tournament reminds me a lot of the famous quote by Walt Disney: Disneyland will never be complete as long as there is imagination left in the world. That is kind of like the same thing I'd say to the NBA. Your in-season tournament is great, but it but it's not going to be finished. But it won't be finished, or will never be finished unless you have competition left in your game. It's simple as that. I think that the NBA, honestly, I think maybe just has found something worth noting that I believe is going to help them with their next round of media rights. And also, I think seeing as well, though, that every game in Vegas was sold out. Now, again, I know it was more of a Laker home game on Saturday because the Lakers have had a pretty big presence in Vegas during the preseason. They played a game every so often at T-Mobile. And I know it really wasn't much of like a 50-50 crowd, though, because of how close LA is to Vegas and stuff of that caliber, though. But to me, though, it looked like it was a very great celebration of basketball. I think with ESPN and Turner combining their broadcast teams on Thursday and Saturday, seeing the fan base assembled in Toshiba Plaza in front of T-Mobile Arena, every game being sold out. All right, I think we already can see that Vegas will support basketball. Now, again, it might be a thing more so where when the Vegas team comes in that, the Lakers will have their big presence felt, though. But you know what? I love it. And I think, though, as well, that Seattle is going to be number 2 in line as well. Hey, look at that. Going back to a market where people care about the NBA and care about basketball. That wouldn't happen in San Diego. Rockets have been gone forever. Clippers went to LA. Spattering of top of the Clippers might move their NBA G League team to the new arena being built in Oceanside come 2024, 2025 out of Ontario. Still, though, Seattle knows basketball. So I think right here and right now, it is a win-win for the NBA when it comes down to the in-season tournament. But again, much like a lot of things in life, things can be tweaked. Things can be altered. Things can be fixed. Things can be done differently. But now that we've had the 1 year under our belt with the in-season tournament, I think it's here to stay. And I absolutely love it. Because again, like I said before we wrap up for the day, I love it for the fact of what it's done already. It's already helped boost attendance in November and in part of December. It certainly helped stoke interest and revitalize interest, I think, in a market like Vegas, having the semis and the finals there. And also 30% increases in early season TV viewership on ESPN and TNT. You got it made. I think the NBA hit all three of their big boxes on their bucket list for the in-season tournament. Get butts in the seats, get people to watch on television, and stoke the fire for a franchise in Las Vegas and begin to plot out expansion. I mean, tic-tac-toe, I think that is a win-win-win situation for the association. And I also think, though, it would have probably, and like I said, though, as well, and I told this to our group chat a couple days ago, again, even though I root for the Lakers, I really wanted the Pacers to win that game on Saturday because fandom aside, take the Laker fanboy hat off and put it in the trash can because my podcast doesn't revolve around the Lakers winning and losing. I wanted that more for those players on Indiana. The lowest payroll in the entire NBA against a club like the Lakers with all the resources at their disposal. I would have loved to have seen that team in Indiana win that tournament. Because it in a way, it reminded me a lot of like all those years of the Padres without the superstars that they have now, having to play the big bad Los Angeles Dodgers. And kind of in a way, it would have made me feel like last year when the Padres beat the Dodgers in the DS, where if the Pacers would have won, I would have absolutely had gone crazy for them. The fact that it was the lowest payroll team in the NBA and how much that money would have meant to those players. Now, they got change out of it, though, but not the full-blown, they didn't secure the full bag. But again, I think it would have meant more, to the Pacers organization. That may sound stupid in your mind, though, that this is a Laker fan saying that he wanted the Pacers to win. But again, I live in San Diego. I'm used to seeing a small market team like the Padres not be able to compete with the Los Angeles Dodgers, for example, for all these years until recently, if that. But knowing about the payroll disparity with the Pacers, that $500,000 would have meant a lot more to their players. Not like LeBron and AD need the money, or that the Lakers need a banner up at Crypto.com for the NBA Cup championship. I really think it would have meant more to the Pacers. I really do think so. And again, that may be ludicrous in your mind, though. But again, I'm out here breaking down wins and losses. I'm here reporting on what I can report on from the business and media side of things. Financially, for a team with the lowest payroll in the NBA, that title would have meant a hell of a lot more, in my opinion, to the Indiana Pacers than the big bad Los Angeles Lakers. You can disagree with me. You can disagree with me on that. But again, I don't sit here and critique wins and losses or games. I critique what it would have meant, though, from a budgeting standpoint, payroll standpoint, market size standpoint, more than wins and losses and player performances. Simple as that. With that, folks, again, we are moving to a 3-day regiment now here on Press Row. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays here now. Coming away at roughly 3:30 p.m. Pacific time here, or 1:30 p.m. Pacific time here, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday here on C2C. Again, we come here, folks, and break down all the big sports news from the sports business and media perspective. Again, not wins and losses or your traditional sports podcast. We look at things through a different set of eyes here on Press Row. With that in mind, folks, coming up later tonight on this Monday, We will be having the Immaculate Grid back with you folks here at 9 o'clock p.m. We'll have some panel members again try to solve the ever elusive Immaculate Grid across the wide world of sports at around 9 o'clock Pacific time here today. And of course, we will, though, be back with you folks on Wednesday and Thursday for Press Row back here at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern, right back here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, folks. Till next time, have a great night. See you later.